is Healthy Bones Tea. And it's just a good nutritional tea. It's full of minerals, especially calcium. And when you drink tea like this, it gets into your body and really works. And it's a lot like drinking your medicine. As Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine. So I've got 5 different herbs that I put in this tea. And the first one is nettle leaf. Nettle is an amazing plant. It's been used for thousands of years. It's highly nutritious, and it's got very good medicinal qualities, not just for bones, and you know, it's just a general good herb for your whole entire body, but it's especially detoxifying, or it helps support your liver and kidneys in their efforts in detoxifying your body. So nettle is a very commonly used herb, and I just love it. So nettle's a good one. The next herb up is, I'm going to talk about peppermint. The peppermint is in this tea because it tastes really good. And I like to make teas that taste good, because if you're trying to give somebody tea and it tastes bad, they're not going to drink it, especially if they're a child. So I like to at least, you know, try to get the teas to taste pretty good. I chose peppermint for this mix because it's a green leaf or a leafy tea, just like the other herbs here, and also it tastes good. And the other thing I chose it for is its nutritional value. So peppermint's great. And then the next herb up on the list is chickweed. Chickweed is a little tiny plant. It's a little ground cover. It grows in grasses, and it's a weed. Many people try to get rid of it, but if you can plant a patch of chickweed, it's wonderful to harvest wild or from your garden in the springtime, which is when it usually emerges. The flowers are small and white, and they look like little stars. But chickweed is extremely full of nutrition. It's also very, very good for your skin, and you know, you can make salves and different things with it medicinally. But I chose chickweed for this formulation as well because of its high nutritional and mineral values. The next herb up is oat straw. Oat straw is calming and soothing, and it has demulcent qualities, so it's just another good soothing herb to put into your body. In addition to that, though, the main reason why I chose it for this tea is because of its, again, very, very high nutritional value. You know, I'll just tell you something. This tea is like taking a multivitamin, okay? It's that full of nutrition with all of these different herbs. The final herb I'm adding in is calendula, and calendula, like oat straw, is very good for your skin, but it also is helpful for your bones, and it's an anti-inflammatory. So that is why I'm using all of these herbs. Oh, the other thing about calendula too is that it is beautiful, and I like to add a little pop of color to my teas if I can, because it just makes them pretty, and everybody loves pretty teas. So you want a tasty tea that's beautiful and also effective. So of course, if you have to choose between the 3, then go with effective. All right, so now we're going to talk about the parts method. I like to use this method of measuring because then I can choose what amount of tea I want to make using the same exact recipe. So with the parts, I'm not talking tablespoons or cups or ounces or grams or anything like that. I am going to simply choose a measuring measure. So I'm not going to choose a large measurement like this half cup, nor this 1/3 cup, although a 1/3 cup measurement's actually, I think I will go with the 1/3 cup. I do have a very small scoop here that's 1/8 of a cup, and this is very good if you're making a real small amount of tea. If I use this measurement for the amounts of the herb I'm going to blend in this formula, I'll end up with about 1.5 cups of tea, which is a good amount, but I'd like a little bit more. I'd like to actually fill my mason jar up a little bit, so I'm going to use that. So what you do is you scoop out your parts. So we're going to use 3 parts of nettle, and we are going to use 3 parts of the peppermint. Put the peppermint in a slightly opening that isn't quite as wide. And I'm going going to use 2 parts of chickweed. The recipe for this tea will be in the PDFs that come with the course. So you'll be able to access this recipe as well as all of the other tea recipes that I'll be putting in there. So you can, and I'll have the Latin names and a bit about the herbs too. So don't worry that you have to take lots of notes because you'll have this. I'm going to use 1 part of oat straw, and then we're going to use 1 good part of calendula. Now I grew some of these plants, the calendula included, and ooh, that's a big part. I don't take the petals off of my calendula before I dry them. I just dry them like this. But some people only like the petals. So if you're one of those people, you can pull them out and just sprinkle them in there. But honestly, the whole plant's edible. It's a great plant. The green part's good too. In fact, I wanted to tell you, with calendula, if you are growing this in your garden, did you know that you can throw the flowers into your salad and get a little bit of extra nutrition that way? Plus, it's really pretty and it's cool to eat flowers. Okay, so now it's time to blend the tea. So I'm not selling or giving this tea away, otherwise I'd have gloves on, but I'm just going to use my hands and blend it up. And I'll tell you something. There's just something so wonderful about running your hands through good plants. So it's just a really nice grounding experience. All right, it's all blended up. Here you go. That's what it looks like. And now we're going to store it in a jar. So the way I like to get my herbs from the bowl to the jar is using this canning funnel. A canning funnel has a really wide bottom, and it's perfect to sit on top of a mason jar or any other jar with a wide mouth, or even a narrow mouth. The regular mouth mason jars work really well for that too. And then I'm just going to scoop my herb into the jar, and using that funnel really makes it a lot less messy. So good job. We're gonna have a perfect fill here. Sometimes I make a little too much or a little too little, and this one turned out perfectly. And there we go. This is your bones tea. Let me talk really fast before I sign off here about how to prepare this tea perfectly. So these are all green leafy herbs. So we're just going to do a basic tea infusion with these. The amount of herb that you use is between 1 and 2 teaspoons in general for a cup of tea. I like my teas a little stronger, so sometimes I'll add an extra teaspoon. You can go ahead and just put the herbs in your cup loose and then strain out the liquid. And actually, my husband Joe, he just likes to eat the herbs when he's eating his or drinking his tea, so he'll just like eat them as he goes. But I like a nice cup of clear tea, so I do strain the herbs out. You can use infuser cups. So this is a diffuser cup. I love these. These are my favorite cups in the whole entire world. So you've got a lid that goes on top, because when you're steeping your tea, and I don't think I mentioned this just now, you want to cover the tea while it's steeping to keep the volatile oils from escaping. So it has a perfectly fit lid for it. And then you've got your infuser cup, and you can see how big that is. It's wonderful. So you can actually get a lot of tea in there if you like. And for this amount of tea, I'd probably use, this is 1/8 of a cup I'm scooping, which I believe is about 3 tablespoons, I'm pretty sure. So this is a good amount of tea, but this is also a very large cup. I think this cup is about 20 ounces or so. So I'm actually going to fill my little infuser about halfway full of the tea. That's a lot of tea, but I know it's going to be very strong and good. And then I'll just set the infuser in there, pour my just boiled water over the top, put my lid on, let it sit and steep for 15 to 20 minutes. And then when you're done, you take your lid off and you just allow the liquid to drain out of the infuser. And look at that, you've got a little stand for your infuser. You don't make a mess, and you've got a wonderful cup of tea. So I love infuser cups. I highly recommend them. Now, there's another tea preparation called a strong infusion or a medicinal infusion. And I love these kinds of teas, although they don't taste very good. And I'm going to explain why. So if you are really having issues or are concerned with the health of your bones, you could take this tea or other medicinal teas and prepare them like I just said. What I would actually do for a strong medicinal infusion is use a quart jar, and you want to fill, I'd say you would want to fill the jar up about a quarter full of your herb, and then put your water on top, okay? And then just allow it to steep for several hours or overnight. And what that's going to give you is a very, very strong infusion. Like I said, it's going to be bitter tasting. It's not going to be a very tasty tea, but in terms of you getting the medicinal properties out of the plant that you want, that's the way to go if you're looking for this as a truly medicinal tea. If you want a daily tonic, do a little cup of tea. Okay, so those are those two main things. And then the other style of water infusions, which this is what we're talking about, is a water infusion, is a decoction. And I'm going to give you a recipe for that tomorrow.